Bolliger and Mabillard entered into the megacoaster market in 1999 with Apollo's Chariot and Raging Bull, and these coasters have been a massive success with the public. They're often praised for their glass smooth ride, comfortable clamshell restraints, and copious amount of floater airtime. Along with evolving their hypercoasters over the years, B&M started offering Giga coasters over the past decade. So today, I want to count down the best B&M megacoasters, and this list will include their hypercoasters, Giga coasters, and maybe some of those hypercoasters that fall a bit short of technically meeting the 200-foot requirement. Number 14, Hollywood Dream at Universal Studios Japan. The weakest B&M megacoaster is the company's shortest, and it does have some unique things going for it in the backwards train and excellent onboard audio, but it does have a major downside, and that's the assigned seating. Typically, I find B&M hypers to be way better towards the back of the train, so it was definitely frustrating to be assigned the middle on every single one of my rides. Had I ridden this towards the back, I may have had a different opinion towards it. Number 13, Intimidator at Carowinds. Often dubbed the Intimidator, this coaster doesn't feel nearly as fast as its posted 75 mph speed, and it probably doesn't help this coaster is in the same park as Fury. But this coaster does offer some good floater airtime on every single drop. Number 12, Raging Bull at Six Flags Great America. I cannot state this enough, but make sure you ride this coaster in the back row. Not the second to back, but the very back. Raging Bull is pretty dull in every other seat, but in the back, you get some really strong airtime on the ride's major drops. If that dreaded trim halfway through the coaster didn't exist, Raging Bull would have much better pacing and probably place higher in this list. Number 11, Diamondback at Kings Island. This is yet another ride killed by a trim break. I love Diamondback's outward leg. The sustained floater airtime is some of B&M's best, thanks to the elongated trains. But the return leg only offers faint floater airtime due to that dreaded trim break. Number 10, Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure. I think the three coasters that I just talked about are probably better in the airtime department than Nitro, but I am going to give Nitro the edge because of Holiday in the Park. There's just something magical flying through the dark woods at night on a hypercoaster in sub-freezing temperatures. In those conditions, Nitro's sense of speed rivals that of any coaster. Number 9, Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia. This coaster used to be higher, but my 2018 rides had a very bad rattle to them. Had that rattle not been present, this would have easily made the top 5. Goliath is arguably the best paced B&M hyper as it has no mid-course, a very forceful toilet bowl turnaround, and some of the strongest and most sustained airtime of the hypercoaster genre. Number 8, Silver Star Europa Park. Silver Star may not be much of a looker, but the back row has some fantastic floater airtime on almost every drop. The exception are the 2 drops after the mid-course, which actually offer a surprising pop of ejector airtime for a change of pace. Number 7, Goliath at La Ronde. Goliath is a repetitive series of camelbacks. I know some may have an issue with that monotony, but that didn't bother me one bit. This coaster was built to deliver floater airtime in droves, and it delivers. Number 6, Behemoth at Canada's Wonderland. Behemoth is a bit larger than the other hypercoasters I've mentioned in this list thus far, and it uses that added height to offer a bit more airtime on the camelbacks. It also helps that the mid-course occurs fairly late in the ride, which allows it to retain more speed throughout its course. Number 5, Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland. The original B&M Giga coaster has some fantastic elements. You have one of the best first drops of any coaster, some tall camelbacks loaded with airtime, and a wild speed hill. There's just one issue. The coaster does seem to end a bit prematurely. Number 4, Mako at SeaWorld Orlando. Mako is one of the best first halves of any coaster. The sheer amount of flagector airtime is through the roof. I just wish the second half was equally as wild. Sure, it's a bit different with the twists and turns over the midway and water, but I would have preferred a few more airtime hills instead. Number 3, Apollo's Chariot at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. One of the original B&M hypercoasters is still a fantastic ride. While it may not be the most intense, the back row delivers some fantastic and sustained floater airtime on every single drop. And I just love this coaster's setting as you pass over the river and through the woods. That's especially true at night when you cannot see a thing. Number 2, Shambhala at Port Aventura. Shambhala is one big drop after another, and that's fine by me. Each drop gives an incredible amount of sustained airtime. But not only that, each drop gave that stomach dropping sensation I usually only get on a drop tower. It's really rare for me to get that on a coaster, and that's why I think Shambhala is unquestionably B&M's best hypercoaster. But note that I said hypercoaster, because number 1 is Fury 325 at Carowinds. Almost universally considered B&M's best coaster, Fury 325 is a masterpiece. You start with one of the best first drops of any coaster. The sustained floater airtime lasts forever. That's followed by a relentless first half that showcases the coaster's speed through some rapid transitions. Then the second half packs on the airtime with a famous treble clef and 3 powerful return hills with some of the best airtime B&M has ever created. Those are my favorite B&M mega coasters. Now what are your favorites? I'd love to hear your comments down below. Thank you for listening and subscribe for more coaster countdowns here at Canopy Coaster.